Hello everyone, hope you're all doing great. Thank you for the feedbacks, comments, and responses for the videos which were shared to you already. For today's short session, we'll be discussing about a topic from your module 5 which talks about conflict. The topics which I'll be covering under conflict is what is conflict, what can cause conflict, the conflict process, and how it can be managed. So let's just start with discussing what is conflict. What is conflict? In simple terms, it is difference of opinion. If I could define more, any situation in which incompatible goals, attitudes, emotions, or behaviors leading to disagreement or opposition between two or more parties is called as a conflict. A disagreement between people that may be the result of differences between the ideas or perspectives or priorities, preferences, values and beliefs, goals or organizational structures, all can lead to some kind of conflict. Conflict can arise between a supervisor and his workers, a project leader and his team members. Say, for example, inside an organization between one team to another team, one department to another department, between boss and his subordinates. If you could personalize it in a family, between the family members or between husband and wife, conflict can arise between any two parties. So, what can cause conflict? In other terms, what are the reasons that can lead to conflict? Let's ponder a little more on this. The first one is communication barriers. We all know communication is mainly for to send a message from one to another. The sender expects that this message has to reach the receiver or the other point. When there is a gap, when there is an interruption, or when there is a disturbance in this, that can lead to conflict. The semantic difficulties, misunderstandings, or the inference or noise in communication channel, all this can lead to conflict. The second one is incompatible goals. All organizations work with a common vision. When the departments or the teams doesn't have a compatibility with the common vision of the organization, that can lead to conflict. And even when there is no unison between the short term and long term objectives, that can also lead to conflict. The third one is scarce resources. When we say scarce resources, it can be money, information, or supplies, or even equipment and building space. When there is scarcity in all these, that can lead to some conflict. Other types of conflicts are in terms of personal variables, differences in personality, differences in triad, differences in value system, differences in behaviors. All these can lead to conflict again. In terms of jurisdictional ambiguities, when the responsibility or authority or the role is not recognized properly, that can lead to role conflicts as well. Even when there is differences or when there is no proper understanding of the power and status which is owned by a person, that can lead to conflict. And one more causes of conflict is unresolved prior conflict. The previous conflicts, the enmity or the grievance which is already there inside, which is not addressed or which is ignored previously, that can lead to conflict again. So these are all the causes of conflict. And when we say conflict, it doesn't mean it's always negative. There is constructive conflict or functional conflict as well as destructive conflict. What are these constructive conflict? Constructive conflicts can help identify issues and underlying problems. If a conflict that is arised is for a good cause, that leads to a kind of introspection inside the organization or inside the group to find out what are the real issues that is lying behind, or what has caused such kind of problems, and that can be removed, that can be resolved. When that is done, that conflict is resolved and there can be growth inside the or productivity inside the team. And also, it acts as a safety valve, releasing tension and anger. It's so true. Most of the times, when the conflict is kept inside, it is not expressed, that can have some negative impacts that can lead to some hazards as well. So when it is expressed, it is a kind of soothing out or releasing a tension and anger that is expressed out. The emotions are brought out. The third one is it encourages interaction and involvement. In a constructive conflict, there is possibility for more interaction and involvement where even the underlying problems can be brought out. When there is hidden conflicts or hidden differences of opinions which is there in the minds of people can be brought out when there is constructive conflict. It facilitates problem solving because the involvement and interaction is more. There might be more ideas and opinions coming out from different people which can lead to problem solving. It facilitates problem solving and it promotes sharing of information. So these are all the constructive conflicts, whereas the destructive conflict or dysfunctional conflict is results in negative outcomes. Naturally, when there is no unity or harmony inside a team, when the team doesn't work together, that automatically affects the productivity or the net result of the work. That leads to negative outcomes. It affects the work productivity and the job satisfaction will not be attained. That eventually affects the department, which has its impact on the organization as a whole. This destructive conflict, the one other reason for destructive conflict is increases in absenteeism and turnover. It not only affects the individuals, in long term it affects the organization. uh, Conflicts can make persons to increase the number of absenteeism. When there is more absenteeism, tendency of people to retaliate or react negatively increases, and also the outcome or the productivity of the organization gets affected. A successful leader will be alert to destructive conflicts and take action. A leader have to be very um, proactive, right? If a leader senses that there is a possibility for a conflict in his group, they have to be proactive and try to find out what is the reason for such, such reason for such conflict, and try to solve it at the best possible way. Take some action out of it and resolve it. Probably in the next short video session, we'll be discussing on the conflict process and how to manage it. Thank you for listening.